Obviously, the coaching staff, the front office, top to bottom, the welcome has been amazing. So it's a fresh start for me to go out there and ultimately have a chance to compete at a title.
Bruce Beck, NBC New York.
Hey, James, what's your message to Nets fans on what kind of player and what kind of teammate they're getting?
An elite player, an elite teammate, an elite leader, and just a guy that's willing to do whatever it takes to rack up as many wins as we can. Sacrifice.
Brian Lewis, New York Post.
Hey, James. Welcome. Following up on that, I mean, you've proven yourself to be an elite player, and KD's an elite player, Kyrie's an elite player. All you guys have had the ball in your hands and been asked to make big shots. I'm curious how the three of you make sure that you guys come together and keep the main thing, and find a way to gel for the greater good.
Chemistry, sacrifice, and like you said, we're all elite. So depending on the game, depending on what's going on throughout the course of the game, that's going to determine who gets the ball and who makes the plays. We're all unselfish. We're all willing passers, and we play basketball the right way, and that's all that matters.
Otis Livingston, CBS New York.
Hey, James, welcome to Brooklyn. From your post-game comments after the Lakers lost to what your teammates were saying about you as far as being disrespectful, and also you being held out of practice until a trade was made, it got pretty ugly at the end of your tenure in Houston. Is there any part of you that regrets the way that it ended?
I wasn't disrespectful to anyone. Those guys had just got there, Houston. I've been there for a very long time. I've been through all the ups and downs, with that organization. And I wasn't disrespectful towards anyone. I just made a comment, that the team as a whole wasn't good enough to compete for a title. And, at the stage of my career, right where I am now, that's what I would love, And so I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to anybody, especially not to the organization. And like I said, I'm excited to be here in Brooklyn, and excited for a new start.
But do you regret the way it ended, though? I mean, it's a place that you loved and you had so many highlights.
Yeah, I regret because I'm not the type of guy to, I don't need the attention, especially the negative energy, the negative attention. Like, I've never been that guy. So there were some things I felt like out of my character, but the ultimate goal was to get somewhere, where I can compete. And here I am in Brooklyn. I have nothing but love and respect for that organization, that city, and everything that they've done for me and my family. Much respect.
Malika Andrews, ESPN.
Hi, James. Welcome. Sean Marks said yesterday that in large part because you are pretty much going to be thrown into the fire here, Brooklyn has a schedule where they don't practice a whole lot. He's hoping that you will lean a lot on your previous relationship with Kevin Durant. What communication had you had with him in the days leading up to this, and how much do you think that that's going to play a piece, that previous relationship with both him and Jeff Green?
That's a pretty special piece to lean on. I think me just loving the game of basketball and having so much talent around me makes it easier. Obviously having conversation with Steve and Mike and the entire coaching staff, and then even the players today, I'm more confident because the things that they do offensively and defensively are similar to what I've been used to in Houston. So just going out there and being me, and making the game easier for obviously Kevin and when Kai comes back, but our bigs, our shooters, and just being myself. And that's the most important thing.
Greg Logan, Newsday.
Hi, James. Welcome to Brooklyn. I'd just like to drill down a little bit on your thought process, even before training camp, making the decision to ask for the trade from the Rockets to the Nets. How did you arrive at that? And was there conversation between you and KD and Kyrie when you guys worked out in Los Angeles prior to the season? You know, how far back does this go?
As far as with Houston, just wanted to, after the bubble, after that loss, just wanted to reevaluate my career and the team and the direction that the organization was going. And then you look from top to bottom, from general manager leaving to Mike D'Antoni leaving, to reevaluating our personnel and see if we had enough to compete with the best teams in this league. And as time went on and free agency and things like that started to go on, it was like, well, I felt like we didn't have a chance, and so as much as I love the city of Houston, love being there, I think at the point in my career, it's not about money, it's not about anything else but having a chance at reaching the ultimate goal. Is to winning at the highest level. So that's where that came into play. It didn't go as smooth as I would loved it to go, but I think both sides are happy.
Christian Winfield, New York Daily News.
Hey, James. First and foremost, welcome to Brooklyn.
Thank you.
I guess you would know better than any of us in this room that, winning a championship is not easy, right? There's 30 teams, of those 30, maybe 5 or 6 have real chances to win it. You've
Correct.
been part of those 5 or 6 for God knows how long since you've been in Houston. You've had multiple runs deep. You've had it with different players from Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Melo, Dwight. I'm just curious as to what gives you the confidence that this time around will be different and that this group can get it done.
Obviously you got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on the team. And then surrounded by those guys, you have really good pieces in DeAndre, Jeff, shooters, and Joe, Landry. And you just look at this entire roster and it's built for any style of basketball you want. And then the coaching staff who, knows the game of basketball at a high level. You just add that all together and it's like, that's a legit chance right there. It was a no-brainer for me.
Rachel Nichols, ESPN.
Hey, James. Obviously, so many great players go without winning a title. There's guys in the Hall of Fame without winning a title. But how about you? How do you see your career in terms of how important it is to actually win that title, to complete what you want to do in basketball?
It's not a guarantee to me coming to Brooklyn is, guaranteeing the title, Rachel. But I think for me, giving myself a chance is very, very important. At younger, giving myself a chance, but wanting to get paid and wanting to take care of my family was very, very important to me. Now, the stage of my career is giving myself a chance to do something that I haven't accomplished yet in this league, and that's very important to me now. And that's the situation that I'm in, and that's why I'm here in Brooklyn. I'm excited for the new opportunity. Obviously, we know it's not easy. It's not going to be easy at all. But with this roster and this coaching staff and this organization, I think we have a legit chance.
David Aldridge, The Athletic.
James, if Daryl Morey was still the GM in Houston, do you think he would still be in Houston?
I'm not sure. It's a really good question. Can't answer that.
Justin Walters, Pix 11.
Hey, James. Welcome to Brooklyn. You and KD are much different players than you were, obviously, at your time at OKC. Was wondering how much can you bring from that experience to Brooklyn? And then a twofold to this is having a conversation with Kai and making sure that all 3 of you can coexist. Have you had that conversation already?
We haven't, but I think for us, it might take a little time. It might not. I think all of us are very, very smart. Like I said, are very unselfish, and we know what's at stake. So, it's a matter of coaches putting us in position and us communicating, putting ourselves through positions and spots on the floor where we can be effective and help each other out. Each game is going to be different, but I think as time goes on, since we're not really practicing, as we get a feel for throughout the course of games, that it should be a lot easier because, like I said, all of us are unselfish and we want to see the next man succeed. Not only just us 3, though. We want to see our entire team exceed and play to the best of their ability.
Howard Beck, Sports Illustrated.
Hey, James. Obviously, when you make a trade request, you can't necessarily predict where that's going to go. Could have been a lot of different places. Can you confirm that Brooklyn was the top of your list? Why the Nets? And did you consider what some of the other options might have been had this gone a different way?
Yeah, they were on top of my list, but there are a few other teams involved as well. I mean, it could have got crazy, but credit to the Houston Rockets, who were an unbelievable organization, and work with me. As bad as it might look from the outside, internally they worked with me and they made sure I ended up here. So much credit to them, and very, very appreciative.
Brian Mahoney, Associated Press.
Hey, James, obviously everyone talks about the sacrifice that you three guys will have to make. And Sean Marks said yesterday, you all said you want to do that. My question is kind of how much can you sacrifice and still be, a great player like you are? You've been the best scorer in the league. The ball's in your hands. If you're not that guy as much now, are you still, an elite great player like you are?
Of course.
Taylor Rooks, Bleacher Report.
Hey, James, welcome. I know you're obviously still getting acclimated to this team, but when you look at yourself and you look at the pieces, what parts of your game do you envision, staying the same for this to work? And what parts do you envision changing for this to work with this team?
Very good question. I think for me, my playmaking ability, we have two elite scorers that the world knows already. My job is to come out here, obviously score the basketball when needed, but my playmaking ability, whereas getting our shooter shots, getting our bigs finishes around the rim, and making the entire team better. I think that's one aspect of my game that will excel in this offense. And as long as I'm making my teammates better, it doesn't matter about the points. Like, I think everybody knows that I can score the ball at a high clip, and that's where the sacrifice comes in at.
Bob Windrum, Nets Daily.
Hi, welcome to Brooklyn, James. How would you describe your conditioning level now at this point in the season?
Great.
Back to Greg Logan, Newsday.
James, we all know about your relationship with Kevin Durant, long-term relationship. Can you go into your relationship with Kyrie a little bit, and how critical do you think that will be, because you're both used to having the ball in your hands and needing the ball to create the way you each do?
I think, we're really good at it, at creating and creating good shots for ourselves and creating shots for our teammates. Like I said, it's all the flow. I can't predict how it's going to go. Kyrie might score, 10 possessions in a row. KD might score 10 possessions in a row. Like, they're more than capable of that, and I'm fine with that. Because we're going to be winning and it's going to be good. So, I mean, tomorrow we'll see, and it's going to be fun, and I'm excited about it.
Alex Schiffer, The Athletic.
Hey, James, welcome to Brooklyn. Obviously, you played against Steve Nash early in your career, but outside of that, did you have much of a relationship with him prior to this trade?
Not really. But just having a conversation with him today was exciting. Obviously he has that point guard mentality, one of the best to ever do it. So just to go over the offense, watching, just him explaining the offense, in positions that he sees me in, and where he can use my playmaking ability was exciting. Because obviously he's done it for a very long time at a high level.
Ian Begley, SNY.
James, welcome to Brooklyn. How much, if at all, did Mike D'Antoni being here factor into where Brooklyn was kind of on your wish list entering this thing?
It was a part of it. Mike's an unbelievable coach. He's been doing it for a very, very long time, and obviously Mike is a factor. Just being comfortable with him, being comfortable with Kevin, knowing Kyrie, just those four pieces right there made it easy. Obviously then being in Brooklyn, for me it was a no-brainer.
Brian Lewis, New York Post.
Hey, James, following up on two of your answers, I mean, do you expect, I guess, to facilitate a little more for KD and Kai, score less and facilitate more for them? And secondly, I'm not questioning, your focus or your drive, but when you get questions about your defense or questions about your conditioning, do you use those to kind of self-motivate, bulletin board type stuff? Do you use that to
Nah,
self-motivate?
I'm already motivated. I'm as motivated as they come. I don't really pay attention to the defense and the conditioning because everybody's started the same as far as training camp and all that. So it doesn't matter to me. I don't really focus on it. I don't really pay attention to it. I know I'm one of the best basketball players that we have in this league. So, my job is to go out there and focus on what I'm supposed to be doing every single night. Now, to get back to your question, as far as facilitating, it just depends on the flow of the game. Some games I might, be a facilitator. Some nights I might got it going and, score the ball at a high clip. That's the beauty of having, being versatile and being able to do more than one thing. And same with Kevin and same with Kyrie. Just depends on every night is going to be different.
Sam Amick, The Athletic.
James, good to see you. As far as trying to understand how you got to this decision, you talked about Coach D'Antoni and being happy that he's in Brooklyn. But I wonder when he decided to leave, he'd been in the news a lot. We knew that was a possibility, but did that play a part for you, and how did that hit you? And within that, Tillman Fertitta and what role, if any, his handling of Rockets business might have hit you?
Yeah, when Daryl and Mike left, I kind of sat back and kind of reevaluated everything. Those are two guys that I was very comfortable with in their decision making for the organization. So once they left, I had to figure out was this organization going into a rebuild stage, or were they still trying to compete at the highest level? And that was my whole thought process.
Thank you, James. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Appreciate your patience today, and we will speak to you soon.